Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder, also known in some corners as Darth Bobcat.
Yes, and welcome back if you're returning. If you're new, welcome in. How we start every show is we do a thing of the week, which is something that we've been watching, although we should probably start calling it Choice of the Week.
Yeah, or Media of the Week.
Media
Oh,
of the Week, yeah.
I guess we are Critique Corner, Critique of the Week.
Critique it. Yeah.
Hey, Changus.
Yeah. Hey, Chingus, good to see you. And then we'll get into some box office and then our topics. Although this week is we're doing things something a little different. We're actually going to give an update on a story that we talked about. What was it, about a month ago? 2 months
Yeah, a
ago?
month or two, whenever the charges were actually announced.
Yeah. So for those of you probably didn't see this or need a little refresher, um, Justin Roiland, who's the co-creator of Rick and Morty, he's also the voice of Rick and Morty, um, was hit with some DV charges from a couple of years back, and then not long after that was discovered, he lost his job with the show, and I'm presuming he lost his job with his other shows.
Yes, basically complete cancellation.
Yeah. It was just recently announced that the district attorney in Orange County, California, has dropped all the charges. So means it just means that he's not gonna have stand trial. Nothing's gonna happen to him, at least legally. Um, but of course, what that means for his jobs going forward, not too sure about that, but probably not looking good for him.
No, this could be a situation where he has to go kind of indie to find anyone willing to hire him or work with him. But
Yeah.
oh, now, as I recall at the time, I said some unkind things about, well, while he might be innocent, would it really surprise anybody if one of the creators of a cynical show like Rick and Morty did this?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
and I kind of echoed that too.
so yeah, let's uh, I was thinking it was more likely to be credible than it turned out to be. Of
Hmm.
course, not pressing charges doesn't necessarily mean that nothing happened. It means you just can't prove it.
Right.
Right. But um, much the same way that I say that, uh, basically I'm going to apply the same standard here I did with Vic Mignogna and Amber Heard's ex. Why am
Uh,
I so bad with names today?
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. How did I forget Johnny Depp? God,
I don't
I,
know.
I'm going to blame this workout routine I'm on. Anyway, I'm going to apply the same standard to as I do for Johnny Depp and Vic, which is basically okay. No crime, no foul.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, and now it could very well be that he could still be a jerk.
Yep.
But now whether or not he's that big of a jerk, it doesn't. At least it can't be proven that he is, at the very least. So I mean, yeah, if he wants to make a comeback somewhere, with another TV show or maybe a movie or something like that,
Hmm.
good luck to him.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see what he does next. But we just wanted to give an update on this one.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of a cancellation that I'm a little bit more in favor of, we talked back in January about the Square Enix game Forspoken,
Mhm.
which basically was famous online for being a cringe tornado.
Yeah.
Changus points out there were other allegations against Roiland that haven't been addressed yet, but
Oh yeah, I guess he was DMing young ladies. I'll just put it that way. Allegedly.
So if they were a baseball league, would it be a major or a minor?
A minor. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to still stick to that standard.
Yeah.
Charge a crime or don't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But back to Square Enix. So they have decided to how about it? Forspoken, the cringe tornado game of early this year that everybody immediately forgot about.
Yeah.
Apparently sold horribly.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine why a game that you need a PS5 or a 64 gigabyte top of the line computer to run properly would struggle to sell. That had had a, on the surface at least, unlikable, cringy protagonist, weird tonal issues, and a generic fantasy story.
Yeah. And it is getting the Atari ET treatment.
Yes, Daniel showed me some photos online that of people throwing out the steelbook editions in landfills.
Yeah.
So, oof.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I'm a little more in favor of this cancellation is that this is from the studio. Well, I should say this isn't the studio that brought us Final Fantasy 15 because it didn't technically exist at the time of Final Fantasy 15 coming out, but it was formed after that game because they have an engine that can, in theory, do some cinematic things. But man, I tried to play Final Fantasy 15. I tried twice.
Same here. Yeah.
It's just not an interesting game. It's
no.
Like, if you compare it to like Final Fantasy 7, oh, you're a mercenary and you're in the middle of a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
Or Final Fantasy 10, oh, you're a sports star and suddenly you're isekai'd. But they did like a immediate res at the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those are intriguing things. Like, oh, 4 bros are going on a camping trip before one of them gets married off. Is there a war? No. Is there international tension? None that I recalled.
Yeah.
Even though he's a prince.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. And then they're making obvious Stand By Me references.
Yes, including the song.
Including the song.
I gave up right around when they introduced the Sephiroth alike because it's like, okay, a guy showed up who is clearly the Sephiroth for this game. Is he actually actively a villain right now? No. Is he seemingly scheming like any other villain would be? No. Is he at least like disconcerting like Seymour from Final Fantasy X when you first meet him? No. Okay, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
It sounds like we gave up around in similar areas.
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm not the least bit unhappy to hear that the spin they're putting on this is beginning on May 1st, it would join Square Enix to deliver new innovative gaming experiences across the globe, which basically just means we're being folded into the parent company and split up.
Yeah.
Changus, I just killed a game studio with my freaking mind. Bravo, sir. Bravo.
Yes. Yeah.
But we just wanted to give an update on these 2 stories. Again, this doesn't mean that we typically celebrate anybody losing their jobs. There might be one that would, spoiler alert, there might be one that we celebrate losing their job later on in the show.
Yeah.
And Justin Roiland, at the very least, for the moment, might be a jerk, but he's not a criminal jerk.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's get on to our things of the week.
Yes, thing of the week.
So this week we did the thing where we each suggested something to the other.
Mm-hmm.
I had never actually seen Beverly Hills Cop before, so Daniel suggested that to me.
Yeah.
he is going to broaden my '80s horizons one movie at a time.
Yeah, indeed, indeed.
So I actually have a kind of a connection to this story, and I'm going to dox myself mildly here because you'll be able to figure out my age.
Mhm.
When my dad and uncle were in the middle of seeing this movie when my mom's water broke, so they didn't get to see the end of the movie.
Oh.
Now that doesn't narrow it down as much as you might think because I looked it up on the numbers. This thing was in theaters forever
Hmm.
in 1984 and 1985.
Oh yeah, yeah. For a long time it was the highest grossing R-rated movie.
Yeah, and it made like $250 million in 1980s dollars. That's I was
Yeah,
like, is that the adjusted for inflation number? No, that's just the raw number.
yeah, yeah.
So, but back to so that's kind of I don't I always have like a tie to this movie because I'd heard that story so many times.
Yeah.
So the plot is it's almost like a subversion of the typical rogue cop movie
Yeah. Yeah.
because Axel Foley, played by Eddie Murphy here, uh, might be the most I can't believe he's not corrupt cop I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he is technically corrupt, but it's not like it, or he's like a con man. He
Yeah.
basically is a guy from the streets who became a cop by I don't even know how he got through any academy. He is in theory good at his job, but he keeps making very dumb mistakes. Like the first scene, he ends up getting a truck full of stolen cigarettes, stolen again from Impound because he tried to use them as bait for a sting operation. That's quite the critical failure there.
Yeah, yeah.
But around the time this is happening, a friend of his from back home shows up with a bunch of German bearer bonds. I just had to stop myself and go, I'm curious what a bearer bond actually is because this and Die Hard both revolved around them.
Yeah.
Because it's like I had a vague idea of what it was. It turns out that bearer bonds have basically been extinct since the '80s because of the immediate flaw that you hear with them. So wait, anybody in the world can show up at the bank with this piece of paper and they get the bond plus the principal plus the interest. Yes. And they're not tied to a particular person. Yes. This seems extremely easy to abuse for like fraud and money laundering. And basically everyone in the world agreed.
Yeah.
There are apparently all United States Treasury bearer bonds have matured by now, but there are like according to Wikipedia as of like 2020 there were 87 million out there that were unclaimed,
Hmm.
which makes me wonder if a certain number just got lost or because of course the problem with the bearer bond is they're not tied to a particular identity, so you can't exactly show up at the bank and say, "Hey, I kind of totally lost my bearer bonds." That's like, oh, that's your problem, man.
Yeah.
Uh, but So there was a guy had this big stack of German bearer bonds, and he was living it up. And then a couple of hoods show up, knock out Axel, and kill him. And so Axel goes to Beverly Hills, which is where his buddy had been living, to try to track down the murderer. Now he is not officially there on the investigation. In fact, he's been told to no uncertain terms, stay off of this investigation.
Yep.
Guess, guess what he does? He proceeds to investigate.
Yes. While he's supposed to be on vacation. Yeah.
Yes. So overall thoughts or the things that stuck out to me, this movie earned its R rating. Like I was shocked at how many F bombs were just being said constantly through this movie.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Eddie Murphy, like especially early in his career, he was very vulgar. Yeah.
Yeah. I also, uh, thought how to put this. I don't think I like this movie as much as you do. Unfortunately,
Mm.
it's what I would say is that there are scenes where Eddie Murphy like really sells it, and like he's definitely a clever character.
Mhm.
It just sometimes I got annoyed with the schemes he was running because it's like there's no reason to be running a scheme right now. If you were just honest occasionally, you would be in less trouble. I think he's actually a pathological liar is the problem.
Well, I don't think you're wrong about that. Yeah.
And by the nature of it as an action comedy, like the action beats were really good, but like the problem with the comedy is if it doesn't quite hit you right,
Mm.
that can be slightly tiresome. It's like it's not a bad movie or anything, and I think I had actually seen the last shootout scene before on TV at some point because it seemed very
Mm.
familiar as it was happening.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to remember how it. I'm trying. It's at the mansion, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. I would say that like the best scene is when he takes those two police officers to a strip club. At least as
Yeah.
far as like action and the scheming and scamming he's doing. It's just
Yeah.
it is like I found it strange to realize. Wait, is the movie wanting me to celebrate him corrupting these two cops? Because he's totally corrupted these two cops.
Yeah.
Like, there's a greater evil, but technically he's turned these two into dirty cops just like him.
Yeah.
Because he is a
Well, yeah.
thief and a liar, and
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, the whole premise with the movie is showing the culture clash between
yep,
Detroit and Beverly Hills.
yep,
Because how he does things in Detroit's a lot different than how they do it in Beverly Hills.
yeah, like they're by the book, and that's why I was like, this is like the subversion of those cop tropes. It's like if you took a movie like Dirty Harry, where you have a cop who plays by his own rules, but you just
Mhm.
like, but what if it was funny?
Yeah, yeah,
So like, I don't regret watching it just because now I understand.
yeah.
It's just like it didn't quite hit me.
Okay.
Also, I didn't realize just how much that dee 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 would be used through the entire movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was just a theme from Beverly Hills Cop. No, it was the theme from Beverly
It's
Hills Cop.
yeah, yeah. They play it ad nauseum. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, so those are my overall thoughts.
Okay. All right.
Meanwhile, what I
So
inflicted on Daniel.
yeah. Yeah. Be- Hey, Beavis.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, so I watched Beavis and Butthead do the universe. Now I've never really been into Beavis and Butthead. I mean, I mean, occasionally watch the TV show like on reruns,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, okay, they're just a couple of really dumb, horny teenagers who like to inflict pain on each other.
You have accurately summed up the entire premise that lasted them like 12 seasons.
Yes. And I did watch the first movie, Do America, and I will say this movie has a lot of similarities to the first movie, kind of a similar plot structure, and where they're going across, trying to, they're trying to score. They must score.
Yeah, we're gonna score.
Yeah. uh, but yeah, so I'll try not to talk too much about the plot because I know this was your thing of the week not too long ago. But it starts off in 1998 when they're still in high school, and they're at their science fair, and they cause a fire, and they cause a fire at the science fair, and then rather than the judge, rather than like sending him to prison or anything like that, he watched an episode of Touched by an Angel, which, no one under the age of 30 remembers Touched by an Angel.
Unless they remember that Family Guy joke. Now, where did the angel touch you?
Oh, come on, I got a freaking halo on my head. But anyway, so the judge decides to be more forgiving and sends Beavis and Butthead to space camp, which was the top prize for the science fair. and they really like this the whole docking thing, because so one of the female astronaut who's a mission commander decides to take them along on their next mission to go to the Mir space station, which again, no one under the age of 30 remembers the Mir space station. But and of course, hijinks ensue, and then Serena Ryan, I can't believe I remember her name, but Serena Ryan, the mission commander, of course, she's completely oblivious to the fact that the only reason that Beavis and Butthead are there because they think they're going to score with her. Oh, we're going to score with her. And so she knocks them out into space, and they get sucked into a black hole and end up in 2022 out on a beach in Galveston, Texas. And that's actually something I really liked because, of course, I lived in Texas for a long time. So seeing them going to all these, Texas places was kind of funny. And so then, of course, Serena Ryan is now the governor of Texas. And what I find funny is that her the first officer or whatever is her lieutenant governor. And interesting little factoid, if you're but inside Texas politics, baseball, Texas politics, for a long time, the lieutenant governor was actually more powerful than the governor. Governor was kind of like a figurehead. Didn't really because lieutenant governor was the one that got everything done. But then when George W. Bush, when he became governor, he changed all that.
Okay. Was it like that way, officially, or was it just kind of how things had shaken out?
It was just the way things had shaken out. Yeah. But anyway, Beavis and Butthead, they're trying to get to Serena, find Serena so they can score, and and of course they got the government following them because they think they're aliens, and then they Beavis and Butthead, of course, they have to fix the multiverse because they encounter smart Beavis and smart Butthead.
While we are in fact the smartest Beavis and Butthead, we are still sadly dumbasses.
Yeah. Yeah, they mentioned some joke and they're like, yes, very humorous, yeah, very droll, yeah,
quite droll, yes, yes,
yes, great commentary on modern times, yes. But it's I will say, I think with Beverly Hills Cop, I probably didn't enjoy this as much as you. I think I'm glad this movie was only 85 minutes. Because I think if it was any longer, the joke would have really worn thin. It was kind of wearing a little thin with me, kind of towards the end, or at least kind of the parts of it in the middle were kind of like, okay,
Right, kind of the interchangeable comedy scenes.
Yeah. Although I did like the scene where they go to Texas State University.
I was wondering if that one would stick out for you.
Oh yeah. They learn about their white privilege.
We have white privilege? Cool.
They just go around doing whatever the hell they want.
Hey, my father's very powerful.
Yeah. That was probably the funniest part in the movie for me. Although I did like when they go to prison, when they get right after that, when they get arrested, and then then of course we see the great Cornholio. I need TP, and everybody and all the prisoners are like, yeah, we don't get enough TP, and he almost causes a riot. And like, it's not about TP anymore. He's inspired them.
That's basically. I ended up on the recommendation of Tom over at Midnight's Edge. I gave this one a shot, and then I ended up going back and watching the whole show pretty much in the background for a while there. It was why I had Paramount Plus for a time, and I realized that it's basically the same premise over and over again. The new show is pretty good, actually, although the one thing that's kind of weird is that, you know how in the movie they showed like the smart Beavis and Butthead showed them this is what you should be in the year 2022, and like one of them's fat and the other one's like they're still living in their apartment, and the
Yeah,
other one's
yeah,
like missing all of his teeth. And
yeah.
in the new show, they actually do a lot of those flash forward future Beavis and Butthead things.
Okay.
So honestly, those are more sad than funny, because it's like, oh, they're teenagers, they can bounce back. Like, oh, Butthead has like serious, like he has multiple heart surgeries because he's fat and doesn't seem to understand that he should lose some weight.
Oh God. Oh man.
Uh, but yeah, so you know
Yeah,
what? Sometimes you're gonna have kind of a more meh reaction to these, but
yeah,
it's fun to expand each other's horizons.
yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Now moving on to
Yes. Now, our reasons for doing the box office analysis is that, well, first off, analysis is fun,
yes.
but also it tells you what you're probably going to see more of and less of in the coming years. And one of our title stories here is about Shazam: Fury of the Gods. What's the polite way to put it? Modestly underperforming extremely. But we're gonna get to that later.
Yeah.
Let's kind of run through some of the other ones. First off, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It managed to cross 200 million domestically, so good on it. Shrug.
I guess. Yeah.
But for a $200 million movie, it is still not in the profit zone, and it has slowed down a lot.
Yeah.
Look at for those of you listening, that this trend line is painful.
Yeah.
It looks like a sperm whale opening its mouth.
Yeah, it does. Oh wow. Yeah, it does. Oh man.
The trend line is so down below the thick range that they could have had
Yeah.
based on their
Oof.
first weekend. Like it's only dropping by 40%, but less than 5 million on its fifth weekend. Oof.
Yeah. Man.
We live in a world where, depending on how things leg out, Puss in Boots could ultimately make more money than it. Uh, Now, Puss in Boots is a deserving movie, but it was dealt a bad hand in the box office because its first weekend out was in the midst of a bunch of Arctic storms, and it's
Yeah.
just you can see the exact opposite here with its trend line, where based on a really awful $12 million opening weekend or so, it was
Yeah.
expected to just completely bomb, and this just chugged along since December.
Yeah. It's the little movie that could.
Yep. So good on it.
Yeah.
The other movie from December that's just refused to leave the top 10 is Avatar: The Way of Water,
Mm-hmm.
which 2.3 billion. That's a decent haul.
Yeah. That's pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, it's not Avatar 1 numbers, and I think that's at this point it's pretty definitive that it's not going to get close to the unadjusted for inflation box office of the first movie.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
Man, I would have been so annoyed if this somehow, through some populistic thing, managed to become Best Picture at the Oscars.
I didn't think it was gonna get Best Picture just because if you know.
No, it,
Yeah.
it almost feels like that was a cynical attempt to get people to watch the Oscars by putting the two movies that people actually watched in contention for Best Picture.
Yeah, of course, the other one being Top Gun Maverick, and
Yep.
of course, and then they just threw a curveball and gave it to a movie about a multiverse and a middle-aged Chinese woman.
Technically, she's 60, which she doesn't really look 60.
She doesn't look 60. No, she looks great.
Yeah. So also good on her.
Yeah.
Speaking of Everything Everywhere All at Once, managed to pull in another million last weekend. It has the most cracktastic release schedule ever.
Yeah.
Like, this thing refuses to leave theaters. Like, it was out from October through late January, but it's back, and they added another 1,000 screens last weekend, probably because of all the Oscar wins.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But you almost wonder at this point if A24 just has a deal with the movie theaters, like the big chains. Like, look, if you have a weekend or if you have a week where you don't really have anything to fill the theaters, hey,
Hey, yeah,
you got
yeah,
everything everywhere.
yeah, yeah. And Changis is happy about that.
Yep.
Yeah, and hey, Ninja Toe, good to see you.
Yep. Nice as always.
Yeah.
We're just going over the box office. And so this one is legged out a lot, and it's interesting that this movie has not had a single weekend where it made $10 million domestically. It's only had 3 where it made more than 5 million, but it's managed to leg out to 75.
Yeah.
And it's this is indie movie gold here as
Oh
far
yeah.
as like you could not reasonably ask for better for this if you weren't from a major studio.
Yeah, yeah. On a budget of what, 25 million?
Yep. So
Yeah, that's yeah.
so good on them.
Yeah.
I like to see success. Speaking of success, we turn away from the world of box office over to the home streaming charts, which the way that DEG updates their charts is also cracktastic.
Yeah.
Because you all saw last week they were still stuck in
It was
February
February.
25th,
Yeah.
and they suddenly put up for the 4th and the 11th between this show and the last one. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's very, very odd.
But Puss in Boots has been holding on to that top spot, which is not surprising because it's amazing.
Hmm.
Fablemans and the Whale were up there. Man Called Otto is still high, but declining. Top Gun Maverick refuses to leave.
Yeah.
You can see some Oscar bumps here from various things.
Yeah.
Just this is probably just several thousand people going, "Oh yeah, I never did see Black Panther. Oh, I never
Yeah.
did see Everything Everywhere."
Yeah. And although I don't know why you would watch Black Panther.
There's some masochists in this world. I mean,
Yeah.
the Woman King stayed in there for a very long time too, so
Yeah, that's true.
no
Yeah.
accounting for taste.
Yeah.
Don't know anything about this Missing movie that just debuted.
Yeah, don't know either.
Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody in the Old Way. Yellowstone refuses to leave.
Yeah.
The Ritual Killer, which is only interesting because Morgan Freeman is on the cover.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, poor Women Talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just it's. I think the thing of it is it's just not a feel good movie, and these are hard times. People just probably want more feel good than Hollywood is willing to give them.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, I mean, it's called Women Talking. I mean, the memes write themselves.
The sexist 1950s jokes write themselves.
Yeah.
Because it didn't crack 10 million worldwide. It won the pity award that you give to the movie that you secretly want to be Best Picture, but you know isn't going to win.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like you. It's like you. It's like the joke is like, oh, Women Talking, pass.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know what, they got their Oscar. Critics like it. That's basically what I think. That's who the movie was really made for.
Yeah, pretty much.
Meanwhile, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent is creeping up after coming in last weekend.
Huh.
So good on them.
Yeah.
Megan and Devotion. Oh, Devotion kind of dropped quite a bit, but
Yeah.
and Dragon Ball Superhero came into the chart at like number 14 last weekend, but it's doing all right.
Yeah.
And Ticket to Paradise is just hanging in there. This movie's had a good run in the home market, but I think it's probably about to run out of steam and drop out of sight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Changus, this is like the home video market.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is a mix of people buying stuff digitally, renting it digitally, services like Redbox and it doesn't count streaming because it's a different type of thing. It's basically
Yeah.
what are people willing to pay money to have in some form or another,
Right. Yeah.
either rental or permanent. But so yeah, so there's some new faces in here, but Puss in Boots remains amazing.
Yeah. And I still need to watch it.
Yes, yes, you do.
Mm.
So now that we've talked about all of the stuff where, hey, good on you, you did all right, good
Yeah.
job,
Yeah.
and a couple of flops. Let's talk about what could be the death of the superhero movie, or at least it's the 1-2 punch between Ant-Man Quantumania and this in what could end up being the death of the superhero movie, Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Yeah. Yeah, which I'll be honest, I completely forgot was even coming out.
Well, it was originally supposed to come out in December, and at the
Uh,
time when it looked like Avatar was underperforming its first week, it's like, oh man, you could have put out Shazam and made some mad money. Boy, that those predictions by certain people did not age well.
no.
So I feel like this movie had a bunch of problems with it. We did a trailer reaction at some point during the summer, I want to say,
Yeah.
and the fact that I saw a look in your eyes like, we did. Then you looked up. Oh yeah, we did.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
could see it in your eyes.
I completely forgot about that. Yeah.
Um, or maybe I'm Mandela affecting myself. We just thought we, or I just thought we did. But either way, this thing looked very paint by numbers and dull.
Hmm.
It was a hard path to follow the first Shazam because while it was a fine movie, you kind of wrote yourself into a very stupid corner by giving what 5 other orphans identical superpowers to your main character.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll confess, I didn't really like the first movie that much. I mean, I thought it was all right, but it just, mm,
Yeah, it was I thought it was nice because it was the only DC movie that I saw in theaters at the time that didn't make me feel depressed and bored.
mm. Yeah, I can see that.
Like that was its here's the thing, like it was like a nice counterpoint to a in theory strong Snyderverse era.
Mhm.
Like it was the one that was different. It was the most Marvel like of the DC movies at the time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
We've
wasn't dark and brooding like Batman v Superman.
yes, exactly. But I think that COVID has hidden a decent amount of it has masked the evaporation of the audience for this particular series, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it. Well, and from what I'm hearing too, at least with Zachary Levi, who of course plays Shazam, um, from what was saying that I guess Dwayne Johnson didn't help this movie out at all.
Now it sounded like they were originally going to have Black Adam show up or something.
Yeah, they were gonna. Yeah, and I think they were gonna have some. I think some people from the JSA in there, like Hawkman and Adam Smasher,
Yeah.
and that didn't happen because I guess Dwayne Johnson told him he didn't want that to happen.
Dwayne Johnson did the DC universe no favors, unfortunately.
No, no, he didn't. He sounds like a really big jerk.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about it working with him in reality, but don't think I would want to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Ninja Toe says there seems to be. Yeah, yeah. We were just talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, but okay. So let's talk about the DC EU and its overall trajectory.
Mhm.
So Man of Steel comes out. I've argued with people about this. I've seen things where they expected this to be $1 billion movie. It made like 750 million.
Mhm.
The studios, the heads of Warner Brothers at the time, who were a bunch of idiots, like the heads of Warner Brothers often are,
Yeah.
proceeded to panic and demanded that rather than getting a Man of Steel 2, they shove Batman in and get the ramp ready for Justice League. Uh, when the
Yeah.
movie failed to hit $1 billion, they proceeded to panic again. Had had Snyder's daughter not unfortunately ended herself, I think he still would have been ripped off the movie halfway through production, and they would have awkwardly inserted Joss Whedon into the mix.
Yeah, yeah, and it was, and we got a incoherent mess of a movie.
Yep, that was the world's introduction to a bunch of characters who are, in theory, beloved the worldwide.
Hmm.
Mixed in there, we had the Suicide Squad, which was basically rehacked and cut up by the people who made the trailer, because the studio said, "Oh, you guys made a good trailer out of this turkey. Go ahead and go ahead and take it to play it the whole movie." And that one made a decent amount of money on a smaller budget than Batman v Superman, so it's possibly still the most overall profitable of the DCEU.
Yeah,
But the following fall from Justice League, we then had Aquaman come out, and Aquaman made $1 billion worldwide, a lot of it in China,
hmm,
which means they don't get as much money as you think.
right. Yeah,
But the world didn't go out to see Aquaman. The world went out to see Jason Momoa swimming around with his shirt off.
yeah. Well, you're also forgetting Wonder Woman in there.
Oh, you're right. Wonder Woman was like the bright ray of hope,
Hmm.
which has Mandela affected a lot of people. I see commentators refer to it as $1 billion movie all the time. It
It
was
was
not.
not. Yeah.
800 million is nothing to sneeze at, but it is not in fact $1 billion. But it feels like it should have been $1 billion movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
if your introductory movie hadn't been Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, that
Probably could have done better. Yeah.
yeah, but that movie just legged out because it didn't have a super strong opening weekend, as if memory serves. In fact, Wonder Woman, woman, comma Wonder,
Woman, come on.
100 million in home video sales. God, they gave up so much by moving away from Blu-ray and DVD.
Yeah, they really did.
But yeah, its opening weekend was 103. I remembered it being lower than that. But yeah, this it did very nicely for itself
Yeah,
because Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot is likable, and Wonder Woman is an international brand.
yeah.
But so then, uh, so Aquaman comes out. I don't think there were any major DCEU releases in 2019 because they were in the middle of retooling.
I think you're right. Yeah, because Wonder Woman 84 was 2020.
Yep. Although that was
And
probably delayed by the unknown virus of yada yada.
yeah.
Let's see if they have. All right, let's pull up the. Oh, come on! Don't count all
Oh,
the
don't,
straight to
oh,
DVD
darling.
stuff.
Jeez. Come on.
Okay, okay, that's right. Justice League 2017, 2018,
Oh,
Aquaman.
Birds of Prey was early 2020. I forgot
Yes,
about that.
and that's one that everybody. Oh yeah, and then
Oh,
Shazam
Shazam.
slotted into 2019. I guess like the era of good feelings, you might call it, where it's like, oh, Aquaman was fun enough, and we're far enough away from Justice League that we're not feeling the pain anymore.
Yeah.
And that one put in a respectable performance, though less than 400 million.
Hmm.
Profitable because of it was on a more modest budget, but not a big hitter.
Yeah.
Then Joker came out, not part of the DCEU, but it was the one that crossed $1 billion along with Aquaman.
Yeah.
And then Birds of Prey came out, and everybody tries to go, oh well, that was squashed by COVID. It was already basically done with its box office by the time
No,
that the
yeah.
lockdowns happened.
Yeah, no, it was squashed by a blue hedgehog.
Yes. Uh, and then you basically so then you had Black Adam come out last fall. I don't know why Black Adam isn't on this list of DC Comics ones. This is why it's important to curate your metadata
Hmm.
properly.
Yes.
It after it barely made more than the original Shazam on a budget of $200 million, and this is after massive ticket inflation.
Yeah. Yeah. Ninja says, yeah, go Sonic the Hedgehog.
Black Adam. Oh yeah, and also there was the Suicide Squad mixed in there,
Oh, that's right.
which
Yeah.
everybody gives that one credit for, despite really underperforming. Because it was
Yeah.
still, it was still unknown virus times, right? We have to,
Right. Yeah.
you have to give movie credit there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the Suicide Squad barely made, did not make 170 million in its combined national and international budget.
Mm.
Also, on a budget of 185 million dollars.
Mm.
You can only do so much fuzzy Project Popcorn HBO Max math to try to justify that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I mean, like, people excuse the virus for making things underperform.
Yeah.
It, but Black Adam is where the chickens came home to roost. They
Yeah.
they pulled out a bunch of guns for it. They leaked that they had Henry Cavill's Superman. They talked about how this was a big thing,
Yeah.
and and it was supposed to be like, oh, this is going to be a big movie. It was not.
No.
Uh, It's one of those things where you can argue about if Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was a big movie or not, or like was a underperformance or not. This is completely undeniable. Unless you're
Yeah.
unless you're Dwayne Johnson himself posting fuzzy math on Twitter about how the movie was profitable, guys. Totally profitable. Trust me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was not, and and having seen it, it's not a very good movie.
So I hear. So I continue to avoid it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and so this was the last. This was the last attempt to make it happen. And at that point, they said, "Eff it, James Gunn, do your James Gunn magic, because even though the Suicide Squad underperformed, we think you have a vision."
Yes, and you're not no longer employed with our competitor, so come on.
Yep, come on over. And so we tell this long story because uh, basically this was kind of inevitable. You had a movie that wasn't that popular to start with.
Mhm.
It really needed strong movies around it to buoy it up.
Yeah, yeah, and on top of that, you had Dwayne Johnson playing traditionally a villain character, but his ego wouldn't let him play a villain, so they
Because
made him an
villains have to
anti.
lose.
Yes, so they made him an anti-hero, which just made everybody confused.
Yes, and it would be like having a Doctor Doom movie come out before your Fantastic Four sequel, and Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom never interact.
Yeah. And
It,
and Ninja Toe points out, yeah, DC never knew how to make consistently profitable films. Yeah.
yeah, and we'll get into this when we talk about the current state of Lucasfilm, but I think the chickens have come home to roost where they realize that, or where you hopefully think they realize that, ah, crap, we can't just go, oh, it's a movie with an intellectual property behind it. Of course, people will go see it because they love the property.
Hmm.
Uh, you almost wonder if years of that d- don't question product, just consume product and get excited for next product meme has finally shamed a certain number of nerds into apathy for some of these things.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it's unfortunate because it sounds like this movie had a good heart. It sounds like it was just kind of bland, which is better than being awful and hateful.
Yeah. Mm.
But unfortunately, there wasn't really a demand for the first movie, really. And wiser
Yeah.
heads would have gone, there really wasn't a lot of demand for the first movie. Maybe we just call it a day and enjoy our profit.
Yeah.
Maybe have him guest star in another movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess also too, it means that this character probably won't, at least in this incarnation of the character, won't be appearing in the James Gunn universe.
Nope. Nope, probably not. Sorry, real Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Also, it's a sad sign when there's like apparently there Wonder Woman appears towards the end. That did not save this movie. Um, but she was like filmed remotely and directed remotely, and it's looks weird to the point where people were going, "Did you deep fake Gal's face onto someone else's body?"
oh, jeez.
Like the director said, "No, that is not what happened. Shut up."
Oh man.
So, via con Dios, DCEU.
Yes.
The thing of it is that this and Ant-Man underperforming back to back, they basically have like the same, like, I guess, like percentage dip in interest compared to the prior movies in their series.
Yeah.
Or I should say, I mean, like compared to their, how to put it, Ant-Man is a big drop off from Black Panther, and Shazam is a big drop off from Black Adam. Now, if it was making Black Adam numbers, it has a very reasonable budget.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like 125 million for a CGI heavy superhero movie. You managed to make it work. If they'd managed to make that 390 million, hey, modest success. But
yeah, it could have worked out for him, but nope.
Nope.
Yeah, and Ninja Toe says, I feel sorry for the Shazam movies. They seem to be the best part of the DCU. Yeah, the lore of the characters is really interesting. I mean,
yeah,
but it just
just didn't get the did actually. I'd say the first one. How to put it? They're both base run hits, but when the team is down 10 points in the ninth, you don't need a base run hit. You need to hit a homer. And this is not a homer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Speaking of things I don't feel sorry about, let's kind of get into our topic of what's going on with Lucasfilm.
Yes.
So we've talked a little bit about Willow. I've never actually seen the original movie.
I saw it in college, so this would have been 15, 16, 17 years ago. I don't remember it all that well.
Always a good sign.
Yeah.
You loved it so much that your brain blocked it out so you wouldn't compare it to everything else and weep every time you tried to watch another movie.
Yes.
Clearly what happened.
Yeah.
By all reviews I've seen, both professional and people I actually care about, this seems to have been a cringe tornado with cheap costume design, and non-medieval dialogue mixed with medieval dialogue.
Oh, jeez.
Like, we're talking jeans and print t-shirts. Remember when everyone made fun of Aragon because one guy in one scene had blue jeans on?
Yeah.
It sounds like that was all over the place on this thing.
Oh, jeez. Ninja says, I heard Willow being the worst fantasy show. Yeah, I heard it was really bad.
Yeah. And so, unsurprisingly, there was a report that the show had been canceled before its second season. This, of course, caused much hue and cry online because apparently if you have LGBT characters, you are immune to cancellation.
Yes. No matter how poorly written your show is. Yeah.
No matter how poorly written, no matter how much money the studio is lighting on fire to continue it, they are owed their ships.
Yeah.
Holy Ninja says, go ahead and read that.
Yeah. People were mad at Rings of Power's costume designs. Willow said, hold my beer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And note, it said, hold my beer, hold my mead, because it doesn't seem to have an authentic medieval bone in its body.
Yeah.
So it was announced, or it was reported it was canceled. Then the director shows up and goes, no. The movie wasn't canceled. Or I keep saying movie. The show wasn't canceled.
Sold. Yeah.
We just released everybody from their contracts so they could find other work, and we might come back to it later at an ill-defined point in the future. That's not cancellation. That's just an indefinite delay.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yes, what, yeah,
Sure.
however you want to, whatever helps you sleep at night. Yeah.
Yes. Now this is kind of unsurprising behavior for people who deal with Lucasfilm
Mhm.
and Disney in general at this point. Um, so let's talk. Let's hear. So do we talk about this and Victoria Alonso in a nice little pudding of failure, or do we separate it out?
Um,
Uh,
let's put it all in one big nice pudding of failure.
yes. So it has been noted for a very long time that uh, the CGI in Marvel movies has been crap.
Mhm.
They keep making project like, and it's not even like bad special effects. It's you hear horror stories from anonymous people in that VFX industry of having to work 4 times as much as they were scheduled because Marvel keeps changing things at the last minute.
Yeah, and for little pay, apparently.
Yes,
Yeah.
and the weird thing is that you almost wonder if this woman was you almost wonder if this woman was set up to fail a little bit because she was promoted a couple years back to being just about a co-president with Kevin Feige, with her official job being to be in charge of managing VFX.
Yeah.
Wh-
Ninja Toes show mod. I'm not going to subject people to that, or I guess we can. I don't know.
Why not?
Why
We can't
not?
have nice things anyway.
That's true. Uh,
Let's see here. The thing is, like MODOK always had a vaguely silly design, but he's supposed to be
uh,
like a body horror.
yeah.
Oh God, it looks worse every time I see it.
Ugh, yeah. Ugh. The power of Christ compels you.
Be gone, evil thing.
Yeah.
But Victoria was cast out as part of a larger set of Disney layoffs.
Mhm.
It was just surprising because she was so high in the company. She was so high in the company, and on top of other things, like we just mentioned, like we alluded to a moment ago, it seemed like, well, she does a lot of layers of protection.
Yeah, I mean she checks off 3 boxes.
Hmm.
She's a woman, Hispanic, and LGBTQ.
Yep. So, of course, because people can't lose their jobs for gross incompetence
Right.
or being a diva to work with, the sounds of it, this, of
Yeah.
course, also caused a hue and cry.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't worry, I
Yeah.
have a feeling they're coming for Feige next.
Mm. Well, if he keeps hiring Rick and Morty writers to do Marvel movies,
Yeesh.
yeah.
And Rick and Morty is just a pop culture plague.
It has become that, hasn't it? Yeah.
Yes. But there have been various accusations of bad behavior behind the scenes,
Mhm.
of being just genuinely hard to work with. The surprise is that it was allowed to continue on for so long with billions of dollars at stake.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, especially like given the fact that the quality of the Marvel movies since Endgame have just tanked. I mean, with the exception of Spider-Man: No Way Home, of course, that's Sony. But
And it cheated by having 3 different Spider-Men. Oh, you're not the biggest fan of Tom Holland? Odds are you like one of these other 2 options.
yes.
But this came as a surprise again because such a high-end position to get kicked out.
Mhm.
Some people are questioning, is this the end of woke Disney? Seems unlikely, but
Yeah.
it might be the end of spending other people's money foolishly at Disney.
Yes, and they seem to be moving towards the quality over quantity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mr. Iger has even said so himself, which it's this funny thing that keeps happening. I think it's because Warner Brothers lives on more of a razor's edge than Disney does. Because Disney has the parks and ESPN and other business sections to buoy them up.
Yeah, especially the parks. Yeah.
Yeah. Warner Brothers is like a pure play entertainment company. Like they have video games and stuff, but yeah, those are boom and bust, hit and miss
Right. Yeah.
all over the place. Like you have a Hogwarts Legacy, but that might just make you the money that you lost from that Gotham Knights game that everybody has forgotten 3 months later.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's supposed to be 6 months later or so.
Yes. Yeah.
So they keep having to make decisions before Disney does, but everybody always is like super hypercritical of them when they do this.
Yeah.
Something similar happened in the comics divisions in 2020. Diamond Comics shuts down, effectively ending the comic book industry for a time period. And so DC announces that they're creating 2 new distributors, Lunar, and I forget the other one because Lunar is the only one that's left standing.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, you sociopaths, you're going to kill the comic book industry by hurting poor, precious Diamond. How dare you? And then a few months later, Marvel announces moving over to Penguin Random House.
Yeah.
And the criticism was not there. This is the same thing that was happening at the same thing that happened at DC last year or Warner Brothers last year is now happening at Disney. Layoffs, mass cancellations,
Yeah.
delays. Although I noticed that they haven't quite gotten around to outright canceling a lot, but I have a feeling that that much like Willow season 2, Echo and Agatha Harkness, the TV shows, aren't really likely.
No, who in their right mind thought it was a good idea to do an Agatha Harkness TV show?
Yeah, she wasn't even that interesting in the first one.
No, like, and Ninja Toast says, so you either hire writers like David Goyer who can only write pretentious garbage, or Rick and Morty writers.
You know what, David S. Goyer, as much of the problems I have with most of his output, probably better choice than the Rick and Morty writers.
Yeah.
Because of how like deadly serious he seems to take himself with most superhero projects these days. Like think Batman he was Batman v Superman, right?
Yes.
Okay, thought so. Like he would have just not had Thumb MODOK in the movie at all. He would have just refused to include MODOK and just come up with a different lackey.
Right. Yeah. Didn't he write the first Blade?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, I don't know it either.
It seems like what I've heard with Goyer is that his scripts aren't great, but certain directors can work around it.
Mm.
Which is how he could write both Batman v Superman and also Nolan Batman movies.
Yeah. Ninja Toe loathes David S. Goyer. Huh?
Can't blame you.
I can't blame you. Yeah.
Now, this is part of a larger shakeup at Disney, and Victoria is like the Marvel face of it, but there's also quite a bit of shakeup happening over at Lucasfilm.
Yes.
Lucasfilm has been like Star Wars' embarrassing cousin. The black sheep of the family where, geez, I dropped out of college and I'm working at a Piggly Wiggly on weekends and I just can't seem to get my life together. But my cousin over in the next town knocked up 3 girls and has a meth habit. So at least I'm not that.
Yeah.
I think that's an accurate representation of Marvel versus Lucasfilm right now.
Yeah, I'd say that's very accurate. Yeah.
Because, but it seems like they're finally stopping playing pretend that certain things are happening.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Secret Star Wars movie loses screenwriters Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson.
as we watch it. You might want to change scroll or do something because we might get a copyright claim from the
Very inconsiderate of them.
Yes, yeah, it's showing a clip from The Office. Thank you. From a very awkward episode of The Office.
See, I was thinking that was behind the scenes stuff, but
oh yeah.
But so the Damon Lindelof's Star Wars movie, it looked initially like it was canceled, but they found another screenwriter.
Yeah, and
yeah. And Obaid Chinoy is still set to direct the film. Apparently, she is a documentary filmmaker because that worked so well for the Eternals.
Eternals, yeah. Oh, jeez. Yeah, and apparently the new writer is the guy who worked on Peaky Blinders, which, if you don't know anything about that show, it's
I didn't.
I only knew about it peripherally. It's a gangster movie in England in the 1900s with the Scarecrow from the Dark Knight trilogy.
That wasn't the one with the guy with the cap where everybody made those meme "just the two of us" with anime girl videos, was it?
No, that is him. Yeah. Yeah, that's him.
Okay,
yeah.
So I guess I did know. So I guess I did have a little bit of connection to the show. If you want to just annoy yourself with how much money somebody is probably raking in off of YouTube ads, assuming it hasn't been claimed, do a YouTube search for "just the two of us," and watch the original video where the guy photoshopped the guy from Peaky Blinders in with Chica from Love Is War, and just put just the two of us over it, and that's it. That is the entire video, and it has like 15 million views or something stupid like that.
Ninja Toe says it's like announcing a bunch of projects before they're done ends poorly. Yeah.
As part of the rest of the culling of the Jedi children here. Small screen reports. Rian Johnson Star Wars trilogy scrapped by Disney. Now, while I want to join in the laughter, I will say I have not heard of this website before. That does not mean that they are wrong. It just means, and it doesn't mean that they aren't reputable. It means that I just haven't heard of them.
You just okay, yeah. I haven't heard of them either, but I just it
makes you happy inside.
It makes me happy, yeah.
I mean, the writing was on the wall because if it was going to happen, and if Disney really believed in this, they would have already written Rian Johnson a check big enough to make him flip the bird to Netflix and stop making his detective movies.
Yeah. Yeah, and the fact that they made The Last Jedi off of his first draft of his screenplay, like, really?
I don't know that it was necessarily the first draft. I think what was reported was that it was 90% of it was from the first draft.
Okay, all right.
So there's a little bit of editing.
Yeah, just a little. Yeah.
But although there were lots of inconsistencies, like most of the movie they referred to them as the Resistance, then they switched over to calling them the Rebels for about 40 minutes. Then at the end they went back to the Resistance again.
Yes.
Which I remember the one time I saw it, like, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. and yeah, we've talked about The Last Jedi.
Yes, take a drink.
Many times. Yeah, we don't need it. Yeah,
but that means that we can add, if this is true, we can add it to the tally. Yes. Let's look at things that were supposed to happen in Star Wars, and this is not even a complete list.
Yeah.
So, completed Disney Star Wars. Now that this person here on Twitter is not being entirely fair because they left out Rogue One and
no, Rogue One's in there. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's okay. So they're not. So they're counting things that got development held but still eventually came out.
Yeah, or okay. They were redone or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, so let's look through here. So completed Disney Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and The Last Jedi. Things that did not happen. Gareth Edwards' original Rogue One draft, which was rewritten and reshot.
Yeah.
Josh Trank's Boba Fett.
Never got made.
Probably would have been better than the actual Boba Fett show we got.
Yeah, maybe.
Even if Josh Trank seems to be a little bit of hard to work with.
Yeah, a little cuckoo.
Lord of Miller's Solo, reshot by Ron Howard of Willow fame.
Yes.
Colin Trevorrow, Duel of the Fates, was supposed to be the third Star Wars movie in that sequel, or in that trilogy, and it was scrapped because he said, "Wait, my script had Luke alive. What the hell?"
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yes.
Rewritten by J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio. Stephen Daldry, Obi-Wan Kenobi, now a bad Disney Plus show. James Mangold's Boba Fett, now a bad Disney Plus show with no involvement from James Mangold.
You're right.
Benioff and Weiss, Untitled Jedi prequel, canceled. The people behind Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Patty Jenkins, Rogue Squadron, canceled.
Yep.
J.D. Dillard, Untitled Film, canceled. I didn't even know about that one.
I didn't know about that one either.
Kevin Feige was going to take a break from Marvel and make a Star Wars film, canceled.
Yep.
Damon Lindelof and Justin Britt Gibson, Untitled post-episode 9 film, replaced by unknown writer. Well, we must be known writer as of our reporting.
Right, yeah. Well, there is one movie that's missing from there, and that's Taika Waititi's movie, which is apparently still in the works.
You know what? What more damage can he do? He's basically just he's basically just alternate reality Rian Johnson.
Yeah. only maybe a little more likable than Rian Johnson.
Yeah, but they both have a similar sort of sensibility of being crazy and throwing things at the wall.
Yeah,
I'd say Taika is probably better at it though.
Yeah, at least Taika seems to be having fun.
Yes. So I think that we are kind of, again, I keep using the phrase chickens coming home to roost. The pandemic and the shutdowns really disguised a bunch of stuff, because it's like, oh no, this underperformed because theaters are still shut down. This underperformed because we put it up on streaming at the same time. This underperformed because this and that and the other thing.
Yeah.
Well, in 2022, not a single Marvel movie cracked $1 billion.
Nope.
Now you can ask the question: is it reasonable to expect movies from series that hadn't ever cracked $1 billion to crack $1 billion? Well, in the case of Doctor Strange and Thor, that's debatable because they didn't have China.
Right.
But Ant-Man had China. That didn't help Ant-Man.
No, it didn't help Ant-Man, and probably did Black Panther get China?
I think they got like a belated China release around.
Okay.
Didn't after help Iger got back.
Yeah. Well, it didn't help Black Panther either.
No. So and if you like cracking the numbers, looking at the average ticket costs, audience is shrinking for these types of movies. Yeah. And it's because you can't just release anything, slap Star Wars, Marvel, or DC on it and assume that it's going to be $1 billion movie.
Right. It actually has to be good quality. It actually has to have, competent people working on the movie, competent people acting in the movie, and yep. It has to look like a movie.
has to have a good script.
Yeah.
So I think that we are in the course of a course correction, or at least there are indications that we're in the midst of a course correction. Mm-hmm. I am now very curious how The Flash is going to do.
I am too. Yeah. One of two things are going to happen with that movie. Either I think it will do either moderately well, because you've got Michael Keaton coming back as Batman, and a lot of people want to go see that. We'll probably want to see it just for that, or it's going to be another Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Yeah, I mean, as much as people are talking about how it's supposedly testing very well, I don't know. Yeah. maybe the fact that nobody really remembers Justice League, either version of it, will work in the movie's favor. And they'll just go, "Oh, it's the Flash.
Yeah.
I liked that TV show."
Yeah, I like that too. Changus wants to know if we're gonna actually get in and watch it. I'm probably not. At least not in the theater.
It only if it sounds going into it like it'll be an interesting to review.
Yeah.
We might do a yes hype review of it if it sounds like there's something to talk about.
Yes. Yeah.
But we thankfully have until June to have to make that decision.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. So just have to wait and see.
But the era. I didn't think I was ever going to say this, but I'm looking forward to the era where geeks get shoved back in the cultural locker.
Yeah. Yeah. I do. I do too. Yeah. I kind of miss I miss the days when our stuff was very niche and it was
Yeah.
You didn't have a bunch of normies enjoying it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Not that there's anything wrong with normie fare. I mean, we have things like Avatar proving that normies can move mountains,
Yeah.
but it just isn't special anymore. I think that's the biggest thing is we have. Oh, like what movie character at this point, or what comic book character could they make a movie of at this point that would be legitimately surprising and interesting? I can't really think of one.
Mm. I
Like
could think of one, but I'm being very selfish about it.
Okay, besides your own property.
Besides my own property, yeah. I can't really think of any. Yeah.
Like I'm looking forward to Deadpool 3 and Guardians 3, I guess. Probably
Yeah.
Deadpool more than Guardians.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I'd say that's, yeah,
But
especially I mean, with Deadpool 3, I mean, they're bringing Wolverine, Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine. That could be
yeah,
interesting.
that could be fun.
Yeah.
But it'll be very interesting to see how this year turns out, because last year the two top grossing movies, Avatar and Maverick, were not superhero movies.
No, they weren't.
That is itself a major transformation from 2019.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, I guess Avatar was technically a Disney movie, but
Yeah, but an inherited Disney movie that they had no part of the foundations of.
right. Yeah.
It's like that. Okay, that movie makes up for all of the losses that their various Fox bought movies like Free Guy and everything else made.
Right. Yeah.
So good on them.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've covered all of it.
We have flogged this horse sufficiently.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you everybody for joining us.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and we appreciate it as always. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell for notifications. And if you're watching on the replay, leave a comment. And we will see you all next week.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Good night.